Let's go to Congressman Peter King. Congressman, how are you?
Doing fine. I was a little nervous, though. You said you have to deal with all these nuts, and Congressman King is coming up next. I figured, oh, my God. Yeah, I'm not Sid Rosenberg. I mean, come on.
Hey, Congressman, someone you knew well, a celebration of life for Senator Lindsey Graham. Before we get into anything else, reflect on him, the man, the leader, and so on.
Lindsey was a great guy. I was proud to call him a friend. I couldn't think of a bad word to say about Lindsey Graham. He was a dedicated patriot, great sense of humor, but very serious about what he believed in, fought hard. And if we had more senators and more members of Congress, because I first met him when he was in Congress, and when he went to the Senate, we stayed friendly. No, we didn't work together all the time. We agreed on almost every issue, but he was in the Senate, I was in the House, but certainly on security issues, homeland security issues, MS-13, terrorism, all of that. Lindsey was just, again, a great guy to work with. In fact, he and I, back in 2000, we both campaigned for Senator John McCain. And again, I just couldn't say enough good things about Lindsey. He is really, really going to be missed, especially compared to so many of the people in politics today. I'm not saying the old days were so great, but I'm saying Lindsey Graham was great.
By all accounts, at his service today. So let's talk Mamdani. I'm not even going to ask you a question. What comes to your mind?
Anti-American, anti all we stand for.
Right, and I agree with you 1,000%. How long is he going to be able to continue to do what he's doing?
I think he can go on for a while. Unfortunately, he has a city council. It's maybe even as crazy, if not crazy, than he is.
Correct.
I say crazy. Crazy means they don't know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing. They have evil motives, and they are cleverly moving in that direction every
Correct.
day. It's only if somewhere, if the voters speak up in the next set of elections, if voters are heard to, let's say, affect the congressional races, the state assembly races, the state senate races, that could send a signal to the city council. They got to clean up their act and maybe be able to put some restraints on Mamdani. But he's not going to. I don't think he's your normal, public official who is that concerned about what the voters think. So long as he can stay in power, he's going to be satisfied because he just wants. He has a very left wing agenda. He wants to pursue it. He'll do whatever he has to do, to get it done. So that means a lot more to him than just the popularity of day to day.
Congressman King, the petition, I think, is now 25,000 strong of 9/11 families that don't want him at the commemoration. Why would he insist on being there when the families don't want him there?
Yeah, first of all, I don't think he should be there. My only concern with this is if he keeps up, I don't want him to become the issue. One way or the other, I hope this is resolved a few weeks before September 11th because just like with Netanyahu, I mean, he kept himself in the news cycle for 2 weeks, making allegations and making claims that he was going to arrest Netanyahu when he knew he could never do it. But he dominated the news cycle for 2 weeks, so people were talking about him. When it comes to September 11th, I don't want to hear Mamdani's name mentioned. And if he happens to be there, fine, not fine, but ignore him. Because if we're talking about him, all of us, and you and me, so many people, we lost so many good friends and neighbors that day, and the suffering continues with those families. There's still families today suffering from 9/11 illnesses. So I just don't want to be talking about this guy. So I hope he doesn't show up, but I don't want to keep this fight going right up till September 11th because I don't want to hear his name mentioned that day. I just want to hear the names of those who were murdered that day and what our city did to fight back and come back, which to me was so, whether it was Giuliani, whether it was Tom Von Essen, whether it was Bernie Kerik, whether it was all the cops, firemen, construction workers, everyone, the average rank and file New Yorker who fought so hard to come back and never gave up, never let our spirits get down. That's what we should be talking about, not this guy who's an anti-Semite and anti-Western civilization guy.
So why, and I guess I'm asking you to get inside his head, which is impossible because you and I don't think the way that he does. Why does he think it's okay to skip the Israeli Day Parade and then turn around for 9/11 and all of a sudden you want to be there to represent the city when you have Jewish leaders having the news conference last week blaming him for, and rightfully so, for setting up this entire scenario. So how do you say, I don't want anything to do with the Israeli Day Parade, but then 9/11, and all of a sudden you want to be there?
Well, to me, there's no way you can do it logically or morally, but he has his own agenda, and he feels that he's done enough to damage the reputation of Israel, so it's worth it to him politically to take the shots at Netanyahu, be anti-Israel, and be anti-Semitic, because they're a large minority, but still a minority. When it comes to 9/11, he knows that the overwhelming majority of people, oh my God, like 90%, 95%, have nothing but great feeling and great love for those who died that day, and it's something that will always be in their hearts. So he wants to identify with that, I think. So he feels this is, I hate to use the term, this is a winning issue for him. If he can somehow show, yes, I'm anti-Israel, but I stand with those poor people who were murdered that day. But then, as he's saying that, then you think back, there he is meeting with one of the architects of 9/11. There he is making remarks in the past, almost explaining why 9/11 happened and almost attempting to justify it, and associating with people who are so anti-American and so much in favor of the Islamists. So he's a walking contradiction, but he knows what he's doing. Whether he's successful or not is going to be another story. When I say successful to him is being unsuccessful for the rest of us and for the city of New York. But it's to establish his type of government and just somehow have that become the dominant force in New York City. And he's not going to stop. He's going to keep going, and he's not going to be swayed by the things that sway most people, because he doesn't really care what other people think. It's what his own people, whoever they are, what they think, this left-wing, progressive, and anti-Christian, anti-Semitic, anti-Western civilization cause that he's espousing and fights so hard for.
So, Congressman King, here's what I don't get. He doesn't care about the wealthy, right? So the new tax, he's releasing their names, and which defies logic, especially considering in this city you had a CEO murdered right outside the Hilton.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay the bills? Because these people that voted for him that are delusional, they think it's an endless pot of money. And they don't understand what's going to happen once the wealthy bounce and the tax roll. Mamdani don't care about them. He'll just, a list of cuts, and that's it. Who does he think is going to pay the bill?
Well, to me, he's that extreme type of socialist, which they feel that they'll take from the rich, they bring down the rich, then that gives more and more power to the government to be running things, to be controlling things. And again, if you go in all these socialist countries, even communist countries we're talking about, the people can be starving, but those on top, those government leaders, in Russia, they lived in their dakas, and you can go around, whether it was Castro or any of these other leaders over in China, go down the whole list of communist leaders and extreme socialist leaders, they live well. The people under them don't, and yet by then, the people realize what's happening is too late, because the control is in the hands of, again, that hardcore left.
So I close this way, Congressman King. I want you to explain this one to me because it's a head scratcher. Governor Tim Walz, who was a heartbeat away from the White House, this starts in September in schools in Minnesota, paper dolls and with transgender dolls for kids, in which the kids can change the sexual genitalia of the doll. So one day it can be a boy, next day it can be a girl. Why would a governor approve something like this?
You shouldn't have me on your show. You should have an abnormal psychologist on here to try to figure these guys out. No, seriously, Tim Walz, I can't figure him out. I knew him. I thought I knew him when he was in Congress. I didn't know him well. He's always a friendly guy, Midwestern guy. His hair was sort of rumpled, and he was sort of going around like, the guy who'd be running the local grocery store. And you call him Sarge because we thought he had this great record with the National Guard. Then it turned out to be a totally different person. I have no idea. He's appealing to the extreme left wing of his party, and all of these. things. Whether transgender is almost like a minor part of it. What it is, by advocating for that, it's going against the roots of our civilization. So they're almost using advocacy of transgenderism, if that's the term, to have just another way to knock away at the blocks of our society, of our culture. The European culture, the Judeo-Christian culture, which has made America so great. And the more they can chip away at that and take it down, that's a success. I think that's what Tim Walz is identifying with these people. But he's become a mental case himself.
Congressman King, it's always an honor to chat with you. Regards to you, regards to your wife, and to your family. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I look forward to chatting with you in the very near future.
Now, if Rosemary sends you a letter, you're not going to tear it up, are you?
Hey, you know what, Congressman? On that note, let me get another letter from this nut. And I want the nut to know, there goes your letter.